आनन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to our new series of seminars on the topic of Vaishnav Ninda, or what in English is called as criticism of Vaishnavas. Now, this topic is a very important topic, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur felt it necessary and essential, and that is why he wrote a complete essay on this topic, Vaishnav Ninda, and he had published it in his monthly magazine, The Harmonist. He had published in his own magazine. Later on, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur republished in his Harmonist magazine. So this topic of Vaishnav Ninda is of paramount importance in the life of Vaishnavas, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur felt the need and necessary, and that's why he wrote an entire book. Now this book is published with the Bengali, verses and the transliteration. Transliteration means Bengali to English, and the English translation. So today we will be discussing this very important seminar, which is called as Vaishnav Ninda. So I will be showing slides on the screen and sharing the screen with all of you. Just a second. And during the seminar, if anyone has any questions, they are free to raise their hands. So this is the topic, Vaishnav Ninda, criticism of Vaishnavas. This is again, as I mentioned, it is an essay written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and today it is published in the form of a book. Now, what are the topics? What are the themes which we will be discussing? We'll be having two parts. One is the introduction. The introduction is how criticizing Vaishnava is the greatest offense or aparad for a sadhaka making progress in bhakti. And this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrit, which will be part of the introduction, which we will be discussing today. Then we will be going actually into Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book, Vaishnava Ninda. We will be just reciting the Bengali and the English explanation. So the Bengali and English explanation, the Bengali is very similar to Hindi, so that we can get a better understanding. So both the Bengali and the English explanation we will be going through, and we will be having some additional footnotes to understand what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking. And some concepts will be in the form of flowcharts so that we can better understand the concepts what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is speaking in his essay. The second part will be how to see this criticism in today's modern context. So what exactly is criticism, and how actually criticism is born out of envy? So this is from a modern practical application point of a viewpoint for a devotee. So we will be looking into how criticism is actually born out of envy and overlook. And definitely, devotees, Vaishnavas who are practicing bhakti might say that, I don't criticize Vaishnavas and I'm free of envy. But what are the qualities of one free from envy? So this is a second aspect as to practical application of, whatever we have discussed in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's essay. We will see what are the qualities of one who is free from envy. So this will be a litmus test to check ourselves whether we are free from envy. Third will be Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deliverance of criticizers and his instructions. This is there in the Chaitanya Bhagavad. So after going through the philosophy from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's work, Vaishnava Ninda, we will be seeing some pastimes where we can actually see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivers the criticizers and what instructions he gives there, which are very, very practical for us as sadhakas. So today we will now begin with the introduction. Now the introduction is part of Rup Siksha. So I will first, before going to the slides, go to the Veda base and come to Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Leela, chapter 19, Lord Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu's instruction to Srila Rupa Goswami. So we all know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa Goswami in Dashashmaved Ghat for 10 days. And this is what constitutes the Rupa Siksha. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Rupa Goswami to compose bhakti literatures. Shakti Shancharila, he empowered Rupa Goswami. Shri Rupa Hridaya Shakti Shancharila. So that is the verse Kaviraj Goswami says. So here the instructions begin, and this has to do with the topic of Vaishnava Ninda. The verse exactly will come after some 10-15 verses, but we want to know the background. So we will go into the background first, which is starting from verse 136, and we'll come to the actual verse of discussion in our PowerPoint presentation. So when Rupa Goswami meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Banaras at the Dashashmaved Ghat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Rupa Goswami, and this is the verse, text 136. Prabhu kahe shuno Rupa bhakti rasara lakshan sutra rupe kahe vistaranayaya varnan. Prabhu kahe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say, suno Rup, oh listen Rupa Goswami, bhakti rasara lakshan. Here the description of devotional service or the symptoms of devotional service. Sutra Rupe, I am telling you in the form of a synopsis. Kahe Vistarana. I cannot explain the whole length and breadth of it. I'm just giving you a synopsis of pure devotional service. So then he starts giving the description. Parapara Shuno Gabhira Bhakti Rasa Sindhu Tomaya Chakite Tara Kahe Eka Bindu. Para apar, the length and breadth, it is without length and breadth. Gabhira, it is very deep. The Bhakti Ras, the ocean of devotional service. So the ocean of transcendental mellow of devotional service is so big that no one can estimate its length and breadth. Tomake chakite. Chakite means I'll just give you a taste. Tara kahe ek bindu. I'll just give you one drop from this ocean of devotional service. So that's also Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Bhakti, the ocean of devotional service. That is the term also Rupa Goswami gives to his book. Aite Brahmande Brahmi Ananta Jivagan Chaurasi Laksha Yonite Karya Brahman. In this universe, there are limitless living entities in 84 lakh species. 80 Chaurasi Laksha. And all are wandering within the universe. Brahmite, they are wandering, they're Ananta Jivas, and they're all wandering in this universe. And then he gives two references or three references what is the nature of the jiva. It is just 1/10 part of a 1/10,000 part of the tip of the hair. That is the dimension of the spirit soul. And he quotes three references, Keshagra Shatabhagasya and Balagrasha Shatabhagasya from the Shvetashar Upanishads. And then from the Uddhav Gita also, Sukshma Mananam Api Aham Jiva. And then from the personified Vedas who glorified. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Taramade Stavara Jangama Duhi Veda Jangama Triyanka Jalastalachara Vibheda. Among them, Taramade, among these unlimited jivas, Stavara Jangama Duibed. There are two divisions, those who can move and those who cannot move. Stavar means those who are cannot move, and Jangam means those who can move. And among the Jangam, there is Tiryanka Jalastala. Among the living entities that can move, there is the birds, aquatics, and animals. So this is the division he does. And then Taramade Manusha Jati Ati Alpatara Taramade Mlecha Pulinda Bauda Shabara. So among these moving also is the human beings, Madhe. So the Manusha Jati, the human species which are moving, they are very, very less compared to all other species. And in that, humans, most are Mlechas, Pulindas, Bauda and Shabara. Many are like Mlechas, Pulindas, Baudas and Shabaras. Now, he said among the human beings, mostly others are uncivilized. Then he comes to the civilized. Vedanishta Madhe Ardhaka Veda Mukhya Mane Veda Nishiddha Papa Kare Dharma Nahi Gane. So among the human beings who are followers of Vedic principles are considered civilized. Vedanishta. Vedanishta means those who are following the Vedas. But although they are following the Vedas, Veda Nishiddha Papa Kare, almost half of them simply give lip service to that, and they commit sinful activities against his principles. Such people name. So although they are like, for namesake, they are following the Vedas. So this is how he starts classifying. There are unlimited jivas. In that there is Stavar and Jangam. Within the moving are the birds, the animals. And then he says within moving are the human beings. Mostly, many are uncivilized. And within the civilized are Vedanishta, but they are just lip service. They don't have actual faith in the Vedas. They just follow, just as a tradition. धर्माचर्यमध्ये बहुत कर्मनिष्ठ, कोटि कर्मनिष्ठ मध्ये एकी ज्ञान श्रेष्ठ, एक ज्ञानी श्रेष्ठ. So like that, these followers of Vedic knowledge, most are following the process of fruity bhakti, karmanishta. They are karmakandis, you know. And koti karmanishta madhe, among such many karmakandis, you'll find one jnani, ek jnani shreshta. कोटि ज्ञानी मध्ये होय एक जन मुक्त, कोटि मुक्त मध्ये दुर्लभ एक कृष्ण भक्त. Now he is coming to the discussion of bhakti. Like that, koti jnana, out of many jnanis, you'll find one jnani who has perfected his life and is become liberated. Ek jana mukta. And like that, among many such liberated, koti mukta madhe durlabh ek Krishna bhakta. There is very rare one who is a devotee of Krishna. And then he says, what is the symptom of a Krishna bhakta? Krishna bhakta nishkam ataeva shant, bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakala shant. So Krishna bhakta is nishkam. He has no other desire except the desire to please Krishna. And that is why he is peaceful. And all these bhukti, mukti, siddhi kamis, the bhukti are the karma kandis, the mukti are the jnanis, the siddhi are the yogis. They all have the desire. That's why they are ashant. And now he quotes this verse, Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma kotishvapi mahamune. And then how this Krishna Bhakta, how he begins his bhakti, he gives this verse, Brahmanda Brahmite kono bhagyavan jiva Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bija. So wandering in this Brahmand, or wandering from one Brahmand to another Brahmand, kono bhagyavan jiva, very rare soul, he comes in touch with a Guru and Krishna and gets the Bhakti Lata Bij. So the faith of Shraddha in the association of pure devotees by which he starts practicing bhakti. So this is what is called as the Bhakti Lata Bij. And now, how this Bhakti Lata Bij now? Malihan kare se bija aropana, Shravana Kirtana Jale kare sechana. So just like a gardener, now he gives a metamorphical example of a real-time example of just like a seed a gardener sows. Similarly, this spiritual seed, which is obtained in the association of a pure devotee, what we should do? We should sow it in our heart. And just like a gardener, Mali, Bij, when he sows it, what he does? He puts water. So similarly, we in the association of sadhus should do Shravana Kirtan. Shravana Kirtan is the water. Shravana Kirtan jale kare sechan. You should start sprinkling on this pure faith. This pure faith is the faith of the soul, which is planted in the soul. It is not in the mind or in the intelligence. It is the pure Bhakti Lata Bij which is planted in the soul. Pure faith. This is called pure Shraddha or pure Bhakti. And after getting this, one should water it with Shravan Kirtan Jal. Upajiya Bhedalata Brahmanda Bhediyaya Viraja Brahma Loka Bhedi Parayomapaya. So just like any creeper in this world, when the gardener pours water, the creeper starts growing, but it needs a support. This is in our experience. But the Bhakti Lata Bij, being a spiritual Bij, this also starts growing from our heart and starts rising up from this earth planet It goes to Swargloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Maharloka, Satyaloka, Brahma's planet, and it pierces the Brahmand and it crosses the Viraja. And from the Viraja, it what? Reaches the Parayom. Parayom is the Vaikuntha planet, the spiritual planets. So sometimes these metamorphical explanations have very, very practical implications. Now, the Bhakti Lata Beach has crossed this Brahmand. How do we come to know? This was one of the questions I had asked one sannyasi. So the sannyasi replied, if we don't have any one material desire in our heart, then we should understand the Bhakti Lata Beach has crossed this Brahmanda. And now it is, so this happens at the stage of Bhava Bhakti. So this is the answer I got. So Brahmanda Bhed, this Bhakti Lata Beach actually, pierces the Brahmanda and reaches the Paravyom. Paravyom is the spiritual sky. Then what happens? Tabe yaya yadi upari goloka vrindavana Krishna charana kalpavriksha kare arohana. Thereafter, it goes topmost in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky, there are unlimited Vaikuntha planets. And the capital of the Vaikuntha planets is Golok Vrindavan. So it will go to Golok Vrindavan and take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is like a kalpavriksha. So it ultimately reaches Golok Vrindavan, this Bhakti Lata Beach, which will give us pure Vraj Bhakti, pure devotion to Sham Sundar Krishna in any of the four rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya. Free with the, it's a pure Braj Bhakti, it is free from the knowledge of the opulence of the Lord, Aishwarya Gyan. It is pure Madhurya, sweetness, where Krishna is the friend, is the lover, and Krishna is the son, and Krishna is my servant, like that. Sorry, I am Krishna's servant. So this is how it reaches Golok Vrindavan. Now, what happens when it reaches Golok Vrindavan? Tahan vistaritahan phale prema phal ihan mali seche nitya shravanadi jal. Now this is a very important verse, and Prabhupada has very nicely given in his purport how important it is that even when attains perfection, tahan vistarita, it will go and expand there and it will give the fruit. What is the fruit? Prema phal. That means from bhava stage, when one attains prema, then actually he has perfected his life. But still the Mali, what regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. In fact, he intensifies his hearing and chanting. So once a reporter asked Prabhupada, you're all Hare Krishna devotees chanting here. What is the ultimate goal? We'll go back to God and to the spiritual world. So what will you do there? Prabhupada said, we will chant Hare Krishna there also. So that Hare Krishna chanting will be out of pure spontaneity and pure love. Here in the sadhaka stage, we are trying to chant Shuddha Nam. But once we perfect, then the Nam which is chanted will be pure out of ecstasy. So one should, even if one has attained prema stage, one should still continue to, water the creeper by Shravanadi Jal. Now here is text 55, where Mahaprabhu gives the warning, and we will go back to the slide now. This is the introduction, text 156. I just gave a background because it is, the discussion is about Vaishnava Ninda. We just had the background discussion. Now Mahaprabhu says, Yadi Vaishnava Aparad Ute Hati Mata Uphade Va Chinde Tara Suki Ayapata. If a devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, Yadi Vaishnava Aparad, his offense is compared to a mad elephant. Ute Hati Mata. So the Vaishnav Aparad is compared by Mahaprabhu to a mad elephant. Now, Mahaprabhu is giving example from nature. What exactly is a mad elephant? It is said that when the elephant goes mad, it can go berserk and cause a lot of destruction. There's a true story here in Karnataka. There is the birthplace of Madhvacharya. It is very close to Udupi, called as the Pajaka Kshetra. And in Udupi, there is the Sri Krishna temple. So once there was a festival going on in this Udupi temple, and the elephant was there to welcome the Lord and welcome the devotees. So this elephant, for some reason, suddenly went mad. And the moment it went mad, it started behaving crazily. Immediately, it struck, the one who was riding the elephant and taking care of the elephant. And it started crushing all the vehicles. In fact, it crushed many of the cars there, which were there. And people started running here and there. At last, the police had to be summoned, and the police had to shoot this elephant, with a injection. They had to shoot and completely paralyze this elephant. So this elephant caused such an havoc on that entire street of Udupi that it destroyed everything in that entire vicinity. Similarly, Mahaprabhu is comparing the Vaishnav Aparadh to a mad elephant, Hathi Mata. And just like if a mad elephant enters a garden, it will destroy the entire garden. It will uproot even trees also. So similarly, if we commit Vaishnava Aparadh, it will uproot even our Bhakti Lata, which is sown in the heart. So if somebody has, been practicing devotional service, has got the pure faith of bhakti, and with association of sadhus, he is doing bhajan kriya, he is at the stage of nishtha or asakti, but he commits a very serious aparadh, Vaishnava aparadh, which is compared to a mad elephant, then this is like uprooting the bhakti lata. So bhakti lata is uprooted means he goes back from whatever stage, like Nishtha or Ruchi is, he goes back to what? Not even Shraddha. Shraddha is also taken away. He goes back in worldly association. And again, he has to now cultivate, come in the association of sadhus favorably. He has to have a favorable inclination, attitude, and they should again, imprint some spiritual impressions in him. He has to gain again the faith of Shraddha, and then with Sadhu Sangh, again he has to go through these steps up and up. Whereas if one doesn't commit a Vaishnava Aparadh and leaves this world, if he is at the stage of Nishtha, in the next life, he will begin his spiritual life from the stage of Nishtha. So this is how dangerous Vaishnava Aparadh is, and that is why it is compared to a mad elephant. Uthe Hathi Mata, that uproots the creeper and breaks it. Uphade va chinda. That's what I was explaining. It will uproot the Bhakti Lata itself. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. Tara Shuke Yaya Pata. So the Vaishnav Aparadh is compared to a mad elephant. In the previous verses, what we discussed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning how rare, jivas, get human birth. And still more rare is somebody who is practicing, Vedanishta, who is practicing Karma Kanda. Still rarer is somebody who is a Jnani. Still rarer is somebody who is a Krishna Bhakta. And this Krishna Bhakta gets the Bhakti Lata Beach in the association. And by hearing and chanting, he can cross this Brahmand and ultimately reach the feet of Krishna and attain Krishna Prem. But Yadi. So here, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, if he commits Vaishnava Aparadh, then his Bhakti Lata is uprooted completely. Now, Srila Prabhupada in his purport has given very, very practical explanation of what exactly is when we commit a Vaishnava Aparadh and when, these symptoms start manifesting. So Prabhupada says, once devotional attitude increases in the association of a Vaishnava. So in the association of Vaishnavas only we get bhakti. And he quotes this Narottam Das Thakur's bhajan. Tandera charana sevi bhakta sanevas janame janame hoya ehi abhilash. By his personal example, Narottam Das Thakur stresses that the devotee must always remember to please his predecessor, Acharya. So this is the standard. The Goswamis are represented by one spiritual master. One cannot be an Acharya, spiritual master, without following strictly in the disciplining succession of Acharyas. So Prabhupada is explaining that the spiritual master is actually a Goswami, who has conquered his senses, the 6 Vegas. One who is actually serious about advancing in devotional service should desire only to satisfy the previous acharyas. So this is pure devotion, to always satisfy the previous acharyas. Echai Gosayara Munitara Das. One should always think of oneself as a servant of the acharyas, and thinking this, one should live in the society of Vaishnavas. So here, what is the attitude of a devotee when he comes in the association of devotees? What is his attitude? Srila Prabhupada is explaining. One thing he says, that one should be, trying to please the previous acharyas, and one should always think that he is the servant of the acharyas. So these are the 2 prominent moods he should have while he is living in the association of devotees. However, that yadi word was used, na? So however, a devotee who is staying in the association of devotees with these 2 attitudes, however, if one thinks that he has become very mature and can live separate from the association of Vaishnavas, now this is, very important. One thinks, I'm very advanced and I live separately from the Vaishnava association of Vaishnava, and gives up the regulative principles due to offending a Vaishnava, one's position becomes very dangerous. So the reason why we leave the association of Vaishnavas is because one is, we think we are very advanced. And when we offend Vaishnavas, we lose their association and we stop following the regulative principles. So this is an indication that, our Bhakti Lata is slowly drying up. Offenses against the holy name are explained in Adi Lila, chapter 8, verse 24. So Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the Nama Parad also. So Nama Parad is also to be avoided. Giving up the regulative principles and living according to one's whims is compared to a mad elephant. So what exactly is a mad elephant? If we give up the regulative principles and live not in the association of Vaishnavas, but live according to our own whims, which by force uproots the Bhakti Lata and breaks it to pieces. So it is chind, as the elephant does also. So when we give up the regulative principles, when we give up the association of Vaishnavas, it's like our Bhakti Lata is being broken into pieces. In this way, the Bhakti Lata shrivels up. Such an offense is especially created when one disobeys the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called Guru Avagya. So here Prabhupada is speaking about the 3rd Nama Prad, the 3rd Nama Prad to the holy name, Gurura Avagya. The devotee must therefore be very careful not to commit offenses against the spiritual master by disobeying his instructions. As soon as one is deviated from the instructions of the spiritual master, because the whole goal of a devotee in devotional life is to please the previous acharyas, to act as the servant of the previous acharyas. So when we don't do that, when we disobey the spiritual master's instruction, that is like uprooting the Bhakti Lata. The uprooting of the Bhakti Lata begins, and gradually all the leaves dry up. So this is how Srila Prabhupada is very systematically giving a practical understanding of what this verse means. Now in the next verse, Tate mali yatna kare avarna, aparadha stirayache, na haya udgama. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around. Tate mali yatna kare avarna. So just like a gardener, when he sows a seed, a flower, rose flowers for the deity, first thing he does is he fences the garden. Similarly, a devotee should fence his bhakti lata by being in the association of devotees and by trying to please the previous acharyas. Tate mali yatna kare avarna, so that the powerful elephant of offenses may not enter. Aparad hasti rache na hai udhama. So this is in the next verse. Mahaprabhu is saying. Again, Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing it all around. The neophyte devotee must be protected by being surrounded by pure devotees. So what is our fencing? Our fencing is that we should be surrounded by pure devotees. In this way, he will not give the maddened elephant a chance to uproot his bhakti creeper. When one associates with non-devotees, the maddened elephant is set loose. So here is a caution that when our fences are loose, when we start associating more with non-devotees. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Asatya Sangatyag Eiv Vaishnav Achar. So this is the first instruction for a Vaishnava to leave Asat Sang. The first business of a Vaishnava is to give up the company of non-devotees. A so-called mature devotee, now Prabhupada says so-called mature devotee, however, commits a great offense by giving up the company of pure devotees. The human being is a social animal, and if one gives up the society of pure devotees, he must associate with non-devotees. So man is a social animal. If he gives up association of pure devotees, he will associate with non-devotees. By contacting non-devotees and engaging in non-devotional activities, a so-called mature devotee will fall victim to the mad elephant offense. So very practically, Prabhupada, how this mad elephant offense comes in the life of a devotee is explaining. Whatever growth has taken place is quickly uprooted by such a offense. One should therefore be very careful to defend the creeper by fencing it in, that is, by following the regulative principles and associating with pure devotees. So these are the two things which is like fencing our bhakti lata, following the regulative principles, associating with pure devotees. Now, very interesting, Prabhupada makes a very interesting comment here. Even if one thinks that there are many pseudo devotees or non devotees in the Krishna conscious society, still one should stick to the society. If one thinks the society's members are not pure devotees, one can keep direct company with the spiritual master. And if there is any doubt, one should consult the spiritual master. So, sometimes, devotees will tell, oh, in our center, there is, all are, pseudo devotees. They are not good devotees. But still, Prabhupada is saying one should stick to the society. And if one says, no, there are no pure devotees in our center, then directly keep the company of spiritual master. If you don't have the company of the spiritual master, then consult the spiritual master and take his advice. However, unless one follows the spiritual master's instruction concerning the regulative principles and chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, one cannot become a pure devotee. So how to become a pure devotee? By following the spiritual master's instruction of following Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and doing Nam Bhajan. So only by these two important paths, these are like a railway track. A railway track has two tracks. So following the regulative principles and Nam Bhajan, that will make us pure devotee. By one's mental concoctions, one falls down. By associating with non-devotees, one breaks the regulative principles and is thereby lost. So association of non-devotees is where we start, breaking the regulative principles. In the Updeshamrit of Srila Rupa Goswami, it is said, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangasya lolyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashati. So Rup Goswami is mentioned among this. Why Prabhupada is quoting is here because of Janasanga. Janasanga means associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. What will happen? By any of these, either Atyahar or Prayas or Prajalpa or Niyamagra or Laulyam, but Janasanga was discussed. Prabhupada is quoting Janasanga, Bhaktir Vinashati. Vinashati means the bhakti is destroyed. So this is how Srila Prabhupada explains. So this is a small introduction to Vaishnav Ninda, which is actually compared to Hati Mata, the offense of a mad elephant, which is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Lila in the Rup Siksha. Two verses described. We elaborately discussed those two verses in the slide and the background behind Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami. So now we'll actually begin the book Vaishno Ninda, the Bengali and English explanations. So anyone has any questions regarding till now what we discussed? Any questions, any clarifications? You can raise your hands. Okay. Yeah, there is one question. Yes, Prabhuji. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Prabhuji, when a devotee wants to join some neophyte devotees, he comes into association of non-devotees.
No,
Correct?
what exactly you're asking? I'm not able to get.
So if a devotee comes into contact with non-devotees, to make them devotees, he has to be in their association.
No,
Other than
okay.
how his behavior has to be there.
Okay. So now regarding this whole idea of what is real association. So when we are preaching, we are presenting Krishna consciousness. So we are giving association to them. And slowly, among them, we see those who are interested in Krishna consciousness, those who want to take Krishna consciousness, and then they will naturally come to us. And slowly, by we associating with them, they also come in the culture of Krishna consciousness. So that kind of association is favorable. But here, Srila Prabhupada in his purport is explaining that when we associate with outside people, that association, it's not just association, but like many devotees are working in the outside world today in their offices and all, and they are interacting with their colleagues. So it doesn't mean that they're associating. What is real association? When we have loving exchanges with them, when they start sharing their ideas, their desires, and their desires are usually material desires of sense gratification. So when we start exchanging that, then actually that association affects us. So what the materialistic will say, oh, today this new movie has come, or this restaurant, this is there, because their hearts are filled with sense gratification. So when we start hearing that and we start, interacting like that, then that kind of association affects. Whereas in our business, in our work, whatever is required for our work, when we are interacting, that is not called as association. So association means when we start doing the 6 loving exchanges with materialistic people. That is explained in Updeshamrit. Dadati pratigranati guhyam akyati prichati bhungte bhojate chaiva shadvidi pritir lakshanam. So when we start doing that, then they are material consciousness slowly starts affecting our Krishna consciousness also, and it will start reflecting in our heart and it will start affecting us. So that kind of association we should not have. So that is one important point which I would like to express here. Of course, what really is an association and how what is association, what is not association, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has elaborately discussed in one of his articles on Janasangha, which he has written in Bhaktiyaloka. And that is a very elaborate subject by which very crystal clear he explains, what really is association and not association. There is one more question here. Niti Lakshan Devi.
Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for letting me ask you this question. Let's say I'm all right with the devotees, but association with them. But obviously the families are very difficult because obviously I'm trying to I'm progressing in my spiritual life. And we have relatives who are obviously, they're not believes what my beliefs are. Obviously I have to have contacts with them because they're they're part of my family. How do I explain it to them that I'm finding it difficult to balance my spiritual life and with them, and that's what I want. I want your advice in that, if you could help me out.
Yeah. So one of the most important principles a devotee should follow, especially when he is in a family setup, if he himself is a devotee and say the family members or the relatives are not devotees, then two things he needs to do. One is that he should be in that same setup, but at the same time he should be not part of it to maintain his Krishna consciousness, because otherwise they will think, oh, he's extreme, he's acting weird, he seems to be from a different world. So that kind of a feeling we should not give. And in that gathering, social gathering or family gathering, definitely, because we are practicing spiritual life, they can see the impact. Oh, they are having now good habits, they have left all these bad habits, and they are, because of their chanting of Hare Krishna. So slowly you will find that some will be favorable and they will ask about Krishna consciousness. But what we do is we do the opposite. We, as a measure of defense, uh, we start preaching, and which usually doesn't work, especially among family members and extended family members. So everything goes by example. So they see our own example, especially maybe few months or a year or two or year or three, and then they see, oh, he's looks to be very happy, and he's he's well situated, but I'm always feeling the distress of this material world, and they will come to seek solutions to you. And that's how, by that association, slowly we can make them also Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if that kind of favorable reception is not there from the family members or the extended family members, then one should be part of them whenever there are some social gatherings or family gatherings. But still, there is a saying in English, be in this world but don't belong to this world. So like that, one should internally pray to the Lord, internalize his practices, pray to the Lord that when we are going for this, please protect my Krishna consciousness. With all these kind of measures, when we do, then we can strike a good balance between our spiritual life and our family life and our social life.
Okay. What's suppose, like you just mentioned about gathering with the family, because now and then they have a gathering with the family, and obviously I don't eat certain things they eat, and I don't drink anything in the house because obviously I don't feel that is clean enough. I've come to that, my conscience has come to it that it's not clean enough for me, because they are in a habit of eating onion and garlic. So obviously I don't use any glass or anything. I refuse to drink. And it came to a point where my mother-in-law was getting offended that I'm not drinking in her house at all as well now. So I came to a point where I don't go to family gathering. My husband goes because obviously it's his mother. At the beginning, my husband felt offended, but I tried to explain it to him, and he started understanding slowly because obviously he lives with me. But mother-in-law was finding it difficult, and the family, and I'm finding very difficult now that because they eat onion and garlic and certain things in the house. So I don't feel that I should be touching any of those things in that house. And when I
Okay,
don't,
I got the clear understanding. Usually what happens in our beginning years of Krishna consciousness, because we have got this Krishna consciousness, we understand its value. Sometimes fanatism also enters, and this can, make others very repulsive in their behavior. So we should, practice our spiritual practices very sacredly. At the same time, we should, do things in such a way, we should be firm about our ideals. At the same time, we should see that because we are having this kind of a life, they also unnecessarily don't get, too much, what do you say, they don't become too much over cautioned, or, oh, why she is doing like that, or why he's doing like that. Just we have to do it a very smoothly and nicely way. See, I have taken up to this life, and I would like to honor in my own plate, and I would like to so if we make it in a simple and a nice way, the presentation, then initially there might be little opposition, but later on there will be appreciation. But usually what happens is devotees, in their beginning years of Krishna consciousness, or even few years in Krishna consciousness, because the stage of Utsamai is there. When bhakti, when Bhajan Kriya begins, there are these 6 stages: Utsamaya, Ghana Tarala, Vyuda Vikalpa, Vishaya Sangra, Niyamakshama, and Tarangarangini. So where usually in the Utsamaya stage, there is some room of fanatism comes in. Oh, you're all non-devotees, so like that, we might do any counter, what preaching, which will have a negative impact. So this we have to see. So we have to, practice our regulative principles as very sacred and idle. We should be firm about it. At the same time, we should do it in such a smooth way that they also don't take it that, oh, this is something odd or something, strange behavior. So we have to balance that, and it is a very fine balance. And one should, take consultation from very senior devotees and resolve these kind of issues. There's another question by Ashray Yoga Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Ashray Yoga Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm audible, Prabhuji.
Yeah, very clear.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for giving nice explanation. Mataji questions cleared a lot of doubts related to my questions also. And in addition to that, I would like to, I want to clarify about, as you answer your previous question, na? So the association means the loving exchange, 6 type of loving exchange. So Prabhuji, when we associate with our colleagues, with our family members who are not practicing devotion service, so we usually not all 6, but few of them exchanges are there. As we get gifts, we give gifts. So we visit to their place, take prasad, whatever we can take. So all these mean, although we are not exchanges 6 type of, as Rupa Goswami explained, Chad Vidhi Pratilakshanam, but few are there. So it does comes in that category that we are associating with them.
Okay, so I'm clear about your question. Especially, see, there are, duties which are done as part of obligation, and there are duties which are done out of pure love. So when in a function, say your relatives, marriage is there, it is, your duty bound that, you should give some gifts, they will give you some gifts you have to receive. So these are more, in a sense, duty bound obligations which we do. But what is your internal faith? What is that knowledge, internal knowledge, what you have, in what knowledge you are doing these activities, that really matters. So it's not that just, exchange will have the effect of the association. No, in what mood, in what intention it is done, that also matters. So it is done out of obligation and a duty as part of social life. Yes, then that is fine. But when there is love, preeti, when there is preeti in it, then there is danger for that. So that is how we should see it, Now, to give you this understanding, I will give you two examples, one from the Bhagavatam and one from a story. So in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned in the second canto that Parikshit Maharaj, also did yagyas for the devatas. Now one will be surprised, Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee of the Lord, and even Prithu Maharaj, it is mentioned. But when he was doing these yagyas for the devatas, internally, what was his mood and consciousness? Ultimately, these devatas are the limbs of Vishnu, that was his inner conception. So his, worship even of the devatas was actually directly Vishnu worship. But why was he doing this? Because entire praja has to be taken towards dharma. And the praja are usually karma kandi. So in order to lead them progressively, Parikshit Maharaj or Prithu Maharaj also had to do some yagyas for the devatas. But what was their mood and conception? So their pure devotion remained intact, because they did not ultimately have faith in the devatas, because they had this knowledge that the devatas are part and parcel of Vishnu. Ultimately, Vishnu is supreme. So their bhakti did not get covered. Jnana karmadi anavritam. So this is how we should, understand. This is from the examples I showed, explained from the Bhagavatam. Now, there's a, Pancharatra story of how once she and he crocodile lived on the other side of the river, and on the bank of the other side was a monkey who was staying there. And once the she crocodile told the husband, he crocodile, that I want to taste the heart of this monkey. Somehow you have to go and get him here, because he's on the other side of the river. You cannot, get him here. So somehow you have to convince him and get him here. So the husband was very faithful to the wife, and the crocodile went in the river, and he told that please come, I have a lot of, food, fruit, jumped on the crocodile, and it was going on the other side of the river now. Now somehow this he crocodile could not hold onto himself. Now my wife is going to taste, your flesh and taste your heart. She wanted to eat your flesh, So now I'm going to satisfy my wife. So that's why the he crocodile told. Suddenly this monkey realized, oh, you wanted my heart. Actually, I left my heart at the branch there on the other side of the river. Kindly take me back quickly. So let me get my heart so that your wife is satisfied. So that's how the, crocodile was also misled, and it went on the other side of the bank. The monkey jumped and went back into the branch. And then it started taunting the crocodile. So what the story explains is that one should, not invest his emotions, his consciousness in those activities. Then he will not get affected by this, association. But if one invests his emotions and consciousness, preeti, then they'll have an impact. So this is there in the, I think, the Pancharatra also. So that is how we should understand about association. Now, there is one more question in the chat, and please write your name also. What is your name? Please type it also. Let me see. Prabhuji, when the whole family is astic, but not Krishna devotee, but in marriages and other functions, family members feel low. Family members feel low themselves in devotee association, and that situation get awkward. In these situations, how can it be faced? Now, the question is not clearly typed. I prefer you can raise your hand and then ask the question. Otherwise, it's not at all clear. Maybe you can record your question and send, and then I will send the answer. Okay. Okay, so later on you can record, and then I will try to ask the question. Fine. So there are. Okay, there is one more question. Okay, my question is, sometimes there are big fights between husband and wife. Both are devotees. How to deal with them, specifically when both are devotees, as it leads to Vaishnava Aparadh. Now, this is a very vast topic. The basic, thing is the false ego. In fact, husband has his consciousness that I'm the enjoyer, she's my servant, or whatever it is. The wife has her consciousness. So basically, it all boils down to the level of ego. There are ego clashes. So one has to be, one has to have a really true ideal as to, that, how do we see, even if it is my wife, she's also a servant of Krishna, and somehow Krishna has sent me in my life to assist me in Krishna consciousness. So this kind of mood and consciousness is not there. And the husband also, the wife, how she should see the husband, so this depends on the mood and consciousness. It's a very elaborate topic, but here I just hinted on one point. There is one short summary about especially about these fights which happen between the husband and the wife, and they are all at the platform of ego. That is one thing we have to be clear. So I will send you that points, and many things will become clear from that points. If other devotees who are family members want those points, just message me with your email and I will send them also, because this was specifically asked by one devotee who's a family devotee. So I will send him definitely, but if others want, I can send them, and they can go through that, and everything will be crystal clear in that. So we have finished the introduction. I would like to take just one verse. We begin today with the one verse of Vaishnava in the Bengali explanation, and we'll just start. So the first theme is the result of blaspheming a Vaishnava. Okay, it's very simple Bengali, and I will be reading the English translation. Let us rejoice Bhaktivinoda Thakur's essay. जीव यत प्रकार अपराध करिते पारे न तान मध्य वैष्णव निंदा तुल्य और भयंकर अपराध नाही. Among the kinds of offenses a living entity can commit, जीव यत प्रकार अपराध करिते पारे न, तान मध्य, among them, there is no offense as terrible as Vaishnava अपराध. Vaishnav ninda tulya or bhayankar अपराध nahi. There is no terrible offense like a Vaishnava aparadh. So this is his first statement. अतएव वैष्णव निंदा कहे के बोले इहर यथा शास्त्र विचार करा आवश्यक. अतएव, therefore, Vaishnav Ninda kahe ke bole, it is essential to analyze according to Shastra, yata Shastra vichar kare avashaka, What is referred to as Vaishnava Aparadh? So if Vaishnava Aparadh is the most terrible offense, so first we'll have to understand what is a Vaishnava Aparadh. It is essential to analyze. Vichar kare avashak. Avashak, it is essential to analyze. Kaha ke bole ihar aparadh, Vaishnav Ninda. What is referred as Vaishnava Aparadh? So he now says, Skanda Purana Likita Hayache. In the Skanda Purana, it is written, what is Vaishnava Aparadh? Nindam kurvanti ye muda Vaishnavanam Mahatmanam Patanti Pitrebhya Sardham Maharaurava Samvite. Those fools who offend Vaishnavas, Nindam Karanti ye muda Vaishnavanam Mahatmana, they are great souls, fall into the hell named Maharaurav. Maharaurave Patanti, with their forefathers, Pitrebhya Sardham Samvite. It is to be understood that they will fall down. So those who commit Ninda or offend Vaishnavas, they are great souls and they will fall into hell known as Maharaurav along with their forefathers. So this is spoken in Skand Puran. Now, what are the different types of Ninda is mentioned in the next verse? Anti Nindanti Vai Dveshti Vaishnavanam Nabhinandanti Krudyate Yati No Harsham Darshane Patanani Sat. 6. Sat means 6. What are they? Hanti. If you kill a Vaishnava. Nindanti. Criticize a Vaishnava. Vadveshti. You hate a Vaishnava. And Vaishnavanam na abhinandanti, not welcoming a Vaishnava. Krudyate, becoming angry at. And the most important among these 6 is also Yati na harsham darshane, not attaining delight upon seeing a Vaishnava. Seeing the Vaishnavas, if we are not feeling delighted, that is also considered as Vaishnava Aparadh. So there are 6, and from very, very severe to smaller in this progression it is coming. Hanti is very severe, killing, criticizing, then hating. We'll come to these terminologies. What is criticizing? Envy, jealousy, not liking. These are some of the terms. These are the feelings of the heart. But criticizing and hating is there. Not welcoming Vaishnavas. Indra did not welcome Brahaspati when Brahaspati entered there, and he showed indifference. So it was a great Vaishnava offense he committed, and that's why he lost his post. Becoming angry, this is quite gross, and not attaining delighted upon seeing a Vaishnava are the 6 causes of downfall. So this is Patanani Sat. यह वैष्णव के हानन करे, निंदा करे, विद्वेषी करे, वैष्णव के देखिया अभिनंदन करे ना, क्रोध करे ना, विमर्श होय ताहार पक्ष ये क्षय आते घर्णित आचार पतनेर कारण होय. For those who kill Vaishnavas, ये वैष्णव के हानन करे. Hanan means to kill. Criticize them, निंदा Krodh kare, become angry or distressed at them. Become angry or distressed at them. So that is one here. There is some problem with the internet connection. Let me restore it. Yeah, okay. क्रोध करे व विमर्श होय ताहार पक्षे ए क्षयते घर्णित आचार. Distressed at them, these 6 abominable activities become the causes of their fall down. Patanera karan hoy. So first thing is, what is a Vaishnava Aparadh? From the Skanda Puran, these 6 things are what are called as Vaishnava Aparadh. So this is what is dealt by first Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we will take this last verse. Now, from the Skanda Puran, he has given one evidence as to what is Vaishnava Prad. Now, he gives the second evidence from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavate likyachen. In the Bhagavatam, it is, the following thing is written. Nindam Bhagavata Shunvams Tatparasya Janasya Va Tato Napaiti Yosopi Yanti Ada Sukritachuta. He, upon hearing criticism of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nindam Bhagavata Shunvams. Shunvams means upon hearing about the Lord, or a person dedicated to him, Tat Parasya Janasya, either criticizing the Lord or his devotees, does not go away from that place. Tato na apeti yosopi, also degrades himself. Yanti ya ati, other means he falls down, having fallen down from good results of his pious actions. Sukritach chuta. Chuta means to fall down. Sukrit means, it is here mentioned as pious activities, but this is spiritual pious activities attained by performance of bhakti. His bhakti credits are destroyed. So here it is mentioned nindam, criticism of either the Lord or of his devotees. So there is a very important saying here that this is a very important principle also in our Vaishnava circles we should have, that we should neither greatly glorify anything, be it devotees, be it prasad, be it anything with relation to the Lord and the Lord's paraphernalia. Because if we glorify also, when things are not right, we'll criticize also. This is my observation in so many years, what I've observed. Sometimes devotees glorify other devotees, you give very nice classes, so many things they glorify. But later on, something goes wrong, they'll also criticize. So these are two extremes of the mind, raga and dvesha, glorification and criticism. We glorify when the prasad is very nice because I like it. This prasad was of my liking. And someday prasad there is no salt, then we will criticize. But here a point to be noted is genuine appreciation from the heart on rare occasions can be done. Genuine appreciation for a devotee for his devotional service on rare occasions can be done. But if we have this habit of glorifying, any of the tadiya, anything related with the Lord, then there is also room for criticizing. So these extremes we should avoid. So this is the second reference now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving. So we will stop here. It's sharp 8:15. So in the next class, starting again on Tuesday, this last Tuesday we could not have because of the heavy flood situation, cyclone situation here in India. So that's why we could not have the session. We could not begin. So today we started Thursday. So next week we will be having Tuesday and Thursday. There are only some 24 sections, very simple. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very systematically analyzing this Vaishnava Ninda, and the explanations are also very simple for us to understand. It will take around 8 to 10 sessions for Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation to finish, and then we will see how to go ahead further. So 12 sessions is what we need. So hopefully in 1.5 months, we'll try to finish this series on Vaishnava Ninda. So any questions, any clarifications you have, you can raise your hands. Oh, there are many questions. Okay, so first who has not got a chance, let us, Nupur Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, as the title of the book is Vaishnava Ninda, criticizing Vaishnavas.
Yes.
So is that criticizing Vaishnava is the most intense offense among all this, which you mentioned, like killing this, there's this, there are so many lists.
Yes. In fact, I'm also happy and surprised many devotees have taken up this course, and it is very important because one of the greatest obstacles in advancing Krishna consciousness is when we criticize Vaishnavas, and this acts as the greatest block or a barrier in our progress in Krishna consciousness. So that is why Mahaprabhu, especially in that, Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a Grahastha also, he was criticized by the Brahmanas there. And Mahaprabhu, that's why took up sannyas. But later on, Mahaprabhu came and all these Brahmanas, they went and took darshan. And Mahaprabhu said, chant the holy name of Krishna and never criticize Vaishnavas, and I will give you Krishna Prem. So one of the greatest obstacles we face in our practice of Krishna consciousness is criticism. And this is a very deep-rooted disease of the heart. It's because of envy which is filled in the heart. And this root of envy is because we envied Krishna, and that's why we are here in the material world. So this is a deep-rooted disease in the heart. And in the second part, we will be doing some analysis, how criticism is born out of envy and how we can have a barometer to check whether this envy is present. So that envy which is actually there for the Lord manifests in we criticizing the Vaishnavas. So how we should avoid this, and we can internally purify our heart of this envy. If envy is gone, then what remains is pure love. We are free from the 6 anarthas, shed repus, and we can attain love for Krishna by chanting Shuddhnam. So definitely, yes, criticism is the root, and we have to work on the root. So that's why this seminar of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who has written a separate entire article on this, will help us to become free from this Vaishnav Aprad or Vaishnav Ninda criticism, so that we can swiftly advance in Krishna consciousness. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, Guruji, thank you so much.
Okay. So there is please mention your name, this Redmi Note 9, who is it, please write your name so that I can call you by your name and ask the question. Of course, time is up, but still we will take the questions because it's important that question answers should be answered. Yes, Prabhuji, what's the question?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, what is the difference between a sin and a aparad, Prabhuji?
Oh, excellent question. Please wait very, very patiently. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to reveal in the next few sessions what is the difference between sin and aparad. Very systematically, he'll explain. When we criticize Vaishnavas, then it is aparad. Aparad affects the soul, the progress of the soul. But when we criticize materialistic people, we criticize non-devotees, then it is sin. Sin affects the gross and the subtle body. But aparad has to do with the soul. So that is why aparad is so detrimental in the soul's progress to attain Krishna Prem. So that is a glimpse what I'm giving now. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to very systematically explain in the coming next section. Definitely next week we will come to that point. So please hold on. But
Yes,
I've just given you some hint. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Ashray Yoga Prabhuji. I have unmuted you. Yes, Ashray Yoga Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, as you said, yes, Prabhuji, this is regarding of the devotees and paraphernalia. You just have a discussion that it is your personal experience that one should not be glorify any paraphernalia, any devotee at high level, so that once he glorify, he start criticize. But
Yes.
in usual practice, we are advised, or we should do glorification of the devotees and other.
No, I have made it very clear in my
See the
discussion.
Archa Vigraha form of the Lord, we start glorifying.
No, I had made it very clear in my discussion. Genuine appreciation from the heart Genuine appreciation of the heart on some occasions or rare occasions is good, but, while practicing as sadhakas, we are, still caught up in raga and dvesh. So every day, if there is some nice today, dosa is done. I like dosa because I'm from South India. So I will glorify the cook. Oh, wonderful dosa you have made. See, I am glorifying, because I like dosa and dosa is nice. It is liking for me. So the next day he makes some other item which is, what chana batora. Chana batora is made of maida puri and chana. I don't like it. So why have you made this? So we go to these two sides of the mind. The two extremes of the mind. So genuine appreciation, that too on some occasions is good. Otherwise, we always will be swinging between raga and dvesh, and that is why we should avoid it. You know, that's what I said. This is there in the Bhagavatam. It is given
So
in the.
Prabhuji, Antly, yes, yes, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, the glorification by mind, by own, we should glorify the devotees and glorify. Is it a good practice? Without saying any words in front of a devotees, by in our mind, we should glorify. We should have
The point here,
time, and every we
point,
see the
point,
devotees, every time we associate with the devotees.
point is that we should always glorify the devotees, but it doesn't mean that we what I was trying to say is, oh, they are Vaishnavas, they're all, Vaishnavas are very rare, but we, always do that, then we will go to extreme. So genuinely expressing, when the genuine appreciation from the heart will come, that time we express it, that has, that too for what? To uplift him or to appreciate him so that he can be motivated more, you know, that is, not bad. Sometimes, once Prabhupada, one devotee, Prabhupada disciple was playing Mridang, and Prabhupada came and told him, "You're playing very nice Mridang." Genuinely from the heart he spoke. And this disciple sincerely admitted, Prabhupada, sometimes I become proud, because I'm playing nice Mridang. So what? He said, so what? And just took it lightly, and Prabhupada went ahead. So genuine appreciation from the heart has to be done, but we should avoid this, two extremes of raga and dvesh. That is the principle. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, I got one should not. Yes, Prabhuji, I really.
Okay. So there is one more question. I don't know who it is here. They're on the Redmi mobile. So any question you have? I have unmuted you. Any question? There is one more hand raised. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, so I remember like you were just discussing about ego that comes in a relationship between husband and wife where, the aprad might happen. So I also wanted to discuss something on similar lines. When we get into bhakti, our parents also might be in bhakti, and we also make friends with devotees. So a lot of times we might not intend to offend them, but we might say things casually, and we're told a lot of times that we should first treat them as devotees, and then as maybe our father, mother, and then as friends. But often this, and I'm talking about myself, like this happens with me a lot personally, that we tend to take them for granted, and we might say things casually that might offend them. And I feel like this is one of the biggest reasons, like biggest part of Vaishnav Ninda that I personally commit. So
Yes.
how do we sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I got the question. And yes, there is a saying in English, casual dealings will lead you to casualty. You know what is a casualty word? So when we deal Vaishnavas casually, then that can lead to casualty. Casualty means some, if you are very casual on a bike, and you might, end up with an accident. So similarly, casual dealings will lead to casualty, it is said. So definitely Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to address about this issue also, that how we should, treat the Vaishnavas, and that is being again the next week topic. So again, I'll leave it to next week, especially those Vaishnavas whom we are, whom we know them well, whom we are regularly doing seva, we, sometimes become casual, and there is a chance that we might commit offenses. So that is why there is a saying in English also, familiarity breeds contempt. And this sutra is very important for us to understand. So how not to become familiar? For that, there is some meditation required, and that meditation hint, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to give in the coming few, themes. In the next week, we will discuss more, and definitely your question will be answered there more in detail. And if it is still not answered, then you can still ask. Okay. But I gave you two simple, proverbs or sutras. One is casual dealings will lead to casualty, and familiarity breeds contempt. So these two things we have to always have in our dealings with Vaishnavas. We should never deal casually. Otherwise there will be chances of, committing aparadh or contempt. Is it okay, Mataji? So we will stop here now. Thank you for the nice question and answers, and by which, we can really churn this subject and get a deeper insight of what this Vaishnav Ninda is. So we will continue our discussion next Tuesday, and probably I'll try to end at 8 o'clock so that 15 minutes we give time for the question answers, and thereby we can finish on time. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Anyone, if they have questions, they can please also later on record and send it to me on the WhatsApp, and I will try to answer and post it in the group. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.